Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the next episode of Council Sessions, where we dive into the biggest and burning questions haunting the galaxy, and we break those down, give our opinions, and just have just a great conversation. And I'm back with my Mandalore podcast co-host Martin Donison. Cyber how are you, sir?
Doing great this evening. How are you doing, buddy?
Doing real good.
Good.
Hasn't been that long ago since we connected and did our last council session.
It's good to be back, though.
It's good to be back, and we've got more Mandalore podcast episodes coming your way because season 2 of The Mandalorian is on the horizon, debuting here in October.
So close.
It is. So everybody out there, go search your podcast streams for the Mandalore podcast. Give us a subscribe and look for those episodes where we break down in detail every episode that's coming in the Mandalorian. But on this episode of Council Sessions, we're talking about a different Mandalorian. If he's a Mandalorian. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm wearing my shirt as well as you, and of course, you are surrounded by Boba Fett right now.
Mm-hmm.
What do you got? You got a half-inch model that you got to build still?
Yeah, it's a 1/12 scale model that I still have to build. I just got it in recently, so yeah, it's fully painted. I just got to put it together. Just
that's
glue it up.
That's gonna look cool. That's gonna look cool.
I'll show everybody when it's done. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, we're talking about that Mandalorian. We're talking about Boba Fett because one of the things we had talked about just texting each other over the last few months is Boba. Why is Boba Fett so popular? I mean, that's, he's rumored to possibly be coming back in the Mandalorian season 2.
Yeah.
We think he died in Return of the Jedi. We've only seen him as a young child in episode 2 of Attack of the Clones and the Clone Wars animated series. So there's not much we know about this character. In fact, the notable highlights of this character is that we know he's a clone of Jango Fett, an unaltered clone, right? So he's not accelerated. His age is not accelerating.
Natural born kind of thing, right?
Natural born, natural growth.
Yeah.
We do know from a couple episodes of the Clone Wars that he did start his own crime syndicate, bounty hunter syndicate, during the Clone Wars. It was called Crate's Claw. He headquartered on Tatooine. There was an episode where he went on a mission with several bounty hunters, namely Bossk, ended up hooking up with Asajj Ventress. We also saw him in a prison on Coruscant in the Clone Wars. So again, not really too huge details about his character. This is prior to him even finding his Mandalorian armor, right? Now, I will say the biggest. I'll say real quick that we know he captured Han Solo in episode 5. And we know that he apparently died in episode 6 when he fell into the Sarlacc pit. But the one thing I think that's really been revealed lately as far as this new canon, because as you'll point out here soon, he does have a lot of stories in the expanding universe, which is now not canon.
Yeah.
But in canon stories, the Darth Vader comic series that started shortly after the merger, when Disney was able to bring Marvel Comics back under the Disney umbrella, and they reissued comics, Vader had his series first, and in that series, which takes place literally right after episode 4, Vader is trying to find who this person was that destroyed the Death Star, and he starts putting pieces together, and he hires people to go search for these things. Runs into a Dr. Aphra, who is a big character that people are talking about right now. But he also enlists Boba Fett. And Boba Fett, long story short, because I want people need to go get that Vader series and read it. But long story short, he is the one that reveals to Vader the name of the person that destroys the Death Star.
Wow.
So in essence, he tells Vader he has a son.
Yeah, because as soon as Vader hears the last name Skywalker, I mean, connect the two dots. It's rather simple.
Exactly.
That is crazy. See, that is such crazy, eye-opening, jaw-dropping type of news to reveal, because it then adds to the time gap between Star Wars and Empire Strikes Back. We never really got the story as to why Darth Vader was suddenly so obsessed with finding Luke Skywalker. He just suddenly was.
That's
why?
right.
What? How does he even know who this kid is? It doesn't. If Boba Fett told him, then that makes all the sense. It just connected everything for us.
It does.
Yeah.
And even in the current Vader series, he's still trying to look for answers. He's actually trying to look for answers to why did Padme know, or did she fake her death, or there's all kinds of questions that he's going at. So really good series out there. But it comes back to Boba Fett. Not a lot that we know about him than everything that besides the stuff that we just mentioned. So the question, like I said earlier, that we're trying to answer is, what makes Boba Fett so popular? Because I do definitely feel he is a very popular character. Now, I've seen people mention he's overrated, but he's a very popular character. So much so that there have been an entire clan, Mandalorian groups and clans that have been born of this, right? Because he was technically, in Star Wars universe, he's not the original Mandalorian, but in our fandom, he is the original Mandalorian.
Right. First one we saw. Yeah.
The first one we saw. And we're so intrigued by him somehow. But how can you answer that, Mark? How can you answer what makes him, to you, what makes him so popular?
Well, I think it comes back to the time that he came out. When we first saw him in Empire Strikes Back, it's 1980, right? Mm-hmm. And we've never seen anything like that before. When you first see his suit of armor, it just blew everyone away, especially us, like young boys. Like, whoa, that is the coolest thing I've ever seen. I mean, we've already seen 1,000 stormtroopers, so he stood apart from that. He was so unique, and for me as a kid, he's got the jetpack on his back with the missile sticking out of it. And the way, when I had all my Star Wars action figures, the way I played with them, everybody could fly like Superman. So I'm flying my action figure. Well, here comes an action figure. Here comes Boba Fett, who actually has a jetpack. So it fit into my play style as a kid. He just looks cool. Looks so cool. I think it was also the mystery around him, because he didn't say very much. And when you heard his voice, he just oozed coolness when he spoke, and like, don't mess with this guy. And, you could tell everybody was kind of like, whoa, watch out for him kind of thing. That there was just this demeanor about him and this aura about him that oozed coolness all the way around, and he hardly said anything. So I think to just imagine, we're all a lot of us are also learning what a bounty hunter was back in the day, because as a kid, you don't hear that term. So when you hear bounty hunter and you find out what they are, they're guys that go out and hunt people down for money.
Yeah.
Whoa, that's an interesting job. What's that? And here's this guy who's known to be the best one there is, and in a galaxy far, far away. There was so much about him that was expressed in so few words. And I think that mystery just sucked us in and made us want to know more. And again, it all comes back to his look. Initially in 1980, when you see that suit, you've never seen anything like it before. And who is this guy? He looks awesome.
That's right. And I did fail to mention, because I know probably somebody's watching this saying that I forgot to say this, but he actually did make his debut in the Star Wars Holiday Special.
Yeah,
true. That's when he was introduced to us, and we didn't see him until live action 1980 Empire Strikes Back. But he did debut in the Holiday Special, riding a crate dragon.
But he looked a lot different though in that cartoon.
He did.
Yeah.
He didn't look the same. I think for me, you hit it with that word. I'm glad you said it. I think what made him so popular was the mystery behind that character. Because of course he looks cool. And when you see him in The Empire Strikes Back, you don't even know his name. I mean, they don't even mention his name in The Empire Strikes Back. Vader calls him Bounty Hunter every time. You know, he's all yours, Bounty Hunter.
That's true.
You know, you're going to give Han to that Bounty Hunter. You don't even hear his name until Return of the Jedi when basically I think Han's the one that says Boba Fett. You know, he's like, so there's just so much mystery about this character, and I think there's something mysterious about characters that you can't see their faces, right? So Vader, I think that's what made him so intriguing. Also, you know, who's the man behind the mask? So I do think he was popular. I think he had this aura around him that made him look invincible, that made him look like you can't beat this guy, you know? But I will say that I do think with the prequels, for some, the mystery kind of went away because now we knew his origins and we knew what he looks like. We know what he looks like now. I think that bothered a lot of people. I remember when the prequels came out, especially at episode 2, when we found, we saw Jango Fett, because I got to remember, when you watch the trailer, when you first see the trailer for episode 2 back then, there was no, internet and no one's on social media talking. When you see this, I don't know if you remember seeing it, but the teaser trailer for episode 2 was just a bunch of images. It came up and down, and the music was building. Wasn't any voiceover, wasn't any dialogue. It was Vader's breathing, actually.
Okay.
You just saw these images. And the one image you saw was that shot of Jango Fett on Kamino fighting Obi-Wan, where he flies up behind that spire.
Yes.
And I'm telling you, when we saw that, me and my friends that saw that, we were like, holy, it's Boba Fett. Like, Boba Fett is in this movie. So, because you never knew an age, right? You never knew how old Boba Fett was.
Never.
So as you find out that it's Jango and, it ends up being he's a clone. So again, the mystery goes away, and I feel like a lot of people might have been turned off by that. But, I'm still a big fan of Boba Fett's, and I think he's fairly popular. But I do think that Lucasfilm is going to make a very rigorous effort to tell more stories with him, either in Mandalorian or in his own spin-off show, or possibly going back to the time where he was alive during the dark times, between 3 and 4. Mm-hmm. I think there's more stories to tell with him. And I think that it will, because there was rumors that there was a movie in production from Josh Trank, who did the Fantastic Four movie. And then of course there was James Mangold, who did the Wolverine movie, Logan, that was directing a new Boba Fett movie. So there was rumors about this Boba Fett movie in development this whole time, but it never got made. So they're wanting to do stories about him, and I think it will boost his popularity even more again once we get more of those bounty hunter stories, because we haven't actually seen him being a bounty hunter. You know what I mean?
Other than grabbing Han Solo, we haven't.
Right.
Yeah, and so how he ties into the stories we're seeing on The Mandalorian now. The Mandalorian has grabbed everyone's attention. So can that interest, that hyper interest in The Mandalorian, transfer to being still interested in Boba Fett? That's what I'm wondering about. And you reminded me of back on the Mandalore podcast, you told us a story about how the Mandalorian came into being when David Filoni went in, and I guess, and it was Jon Favreau. They went into the office with the little Boba Fett action figure and an IG-88 action figure. He said, I want to make a TV show with these two. And they said, but create something different. It was similar to that. And I wonder if that's because they still had going around in the back of their heads, they want to do something with Boba Fett themselves.
I definitely think so. I think you're right. I think they had this development going on with the movie, Boba Fett movie, possibly, and they didn't want to give up that character yet.
Yeah.
But I think since that went away, I think it's possible that Kathleen Kennedy went back to them and said, guess what? You can have Boba Fett now. Put him in an episode. Maybe we'll do a spin-off series, or maybe we'll put him in something else. So I do think he's going to show up.
I love that story, by the way. That was the best thing I ever heard.
I know. I think it's fantastic. Yeah, because you see IG-11, you without knowing his name, you automatically thought maybe it's IG-88, but
yep.
But yeah, so Boba Fett. Well, we kind of mentioned what we think makes him so popular. Do you still think though that he is actually that relevant, or do we need to move away from him?
And that comes into the argument with now that we have Mando, we have this very similar character with a very similar looking suit. Has he stolen away all of any popularity that Boba Fett might have had now? I don't know, but the thing is, you look at the excitement when the rumors fly that Boba might be making an appearance and everyone gets excited. Okay, maybe they're still interested in him. So I think he's still relevant. Now, it comes down to whether he survived the Sarlacc pit or not, because the Mandalorian takes place 5 years after Return of the Jedi. So if Boba's going to make an appearance and it is actually Boba Fett, not somebody just wearing his stolen armor, then they have to tell us the story how he survived the Sarlacc pit. I think so, because you can't just have him show up and it is actually him without giving us that information. So, yeah, it comes down to that point. Did he survive? Because right now in the cinematic universe, he's dead.
Yep.
So if they're going to fix that and show us that he survived, then we need to know how, and that will bring Boba Fett back into relevance again. And I mean, what can he do with Mandalorian? I mean, we know it's a clan. We know they all stick by each other's sides. They all stand up for each other. This is the way. So if I would assume Boba Fett also would know about this, because we were talking about on the podcast that this seems to be a new philosophy that the Mandalorians are following. It doesn't seem like it's something that's been carried forward from, years ago. It seems to be something new to ensure their survival. Mm-hmm. So does Boba Fett know about that? Does he follow the same new beliefs that this is the way and they always have each other's back? So if so, then I'm sure he's going to come in and hopefully help our Mando out. And I would love to see the two of them team up. And I wanted to ask you that. If he makes an appearance, would you rather see them face off against each other or team up together?
I think it'd be cool to see him team up together, because I think there's the only way I think they make this work is that there is some history that they have with each other.
Yes.
Because Mando's been around for a while. He's been grown up in the Mandalorian way for a while. And that's the question too. I think is Boba Fett a part of the Mandalorian culture though? Because we're led to believe that Jango was not. I mean, he's even mentioned in the Clone Wars as he's not really Mandalorian.
Right.
Even though he was born on Concord Dawn, which is a moon in Mandalore, he would never grew up in the Mandalorian way. So, but there's arguments. There could be that he was in a different clan, and not many people thought he was, and because he's a bounty hunter, they disown bounty hunters in a sense. Mandalorians aren't bounty hunters; they're supposed to be warriors and protectors.
Yes.
So, did Boba Fett? Just since he's a bounty hunter, he's not really a true Mandalorian. So maybe there's some conflict there, but I think there's got to be some mutual respect, because I think they should know about each other. So it'd be cool to see them team up and do something that way.
Well, and
think about this though, real fast.
Yeah,
you could easily start an episode with a flashback of him getting out of the Sarlacc, and I think that would be awesome.
That would be awesome. It would be awesome. And seeing him survive. And that'll bring me in. I also have one more item. I feel like show and tell in kindergarten here. This book here.
Yes.
The Bounty Hunter Wars. It's all about Boba Fett, and it takes place from the moment after Jabba's floating barge gets blown up and Boba falls in the Sarlacc pit. That book takes place right after that, and it tells us how he survives the Sarlacc pit. And then the rest of the stories are during the events of Return of the Jedi. So do you want me to reveal how he survives in the book? Because this book is no longer canon. It's part of the Legends
series. Right.
So,
well, I think I've read it before. He basically, didn't he he just cuts his way out, doesn't he, or something like that?
He blew it up. He had
Yeah.
a detonator. When he got swallowed, he ignited one of the detonators and blew the hell out of the thing.
Yep.
And crawled out. But
Crawled out.
his armor was so bad. Like he was discovered in the desert for all you bounty hunter fans. Dengar, who was also on Jabba's barge, survived. And Dengar's the one who finds Boba Fett laying in the desert, nearly dead, and actually saves him. And the two of them team up throughout the book. The two of them are working together, and it's
nice.
It's I thought the stories were pretty good. They might seem a little bit slow for some people's taste. Not a lot of action. It's more bounty hunter politics, because Bosk makes an appearance and stuff as well a few times. But it's so if you take that idea and bring that forward and bring that to life on the Mandalorian, even in the flashback, like you said, to show us that Boba survives. I mean, that I would totally accept that, because the Sarlacc pit, if you remember it, it's not like it chews and gobbles them up. He basically just swallows them. So Boba Fett goes into him whole. He's going to be alive for at least a couple minutes before any stomach acid might eat him alive or whatever. So he's got a couple minutes to do something, and sure enough, he blows him up, and that's a plausible way for me that he could survive.
Yeah. And look, I always say this about characters coming back. If Darth Maul could survive getting cut in half, he can survive the Sarlacc pit.
Yeah, exactly. And as the Mandalorian armor, maybe it can't be digested, right?
Exactly. It might just take him some time to crawl out, but I think it's going to be revealed that he's survived, and we'll have Boba Fett back for sure.
That'll be really cool.
Yeah. So I think we answered that question rightfully so. I think the mysteriousness of him was a big key, but ultimately I think he's just a cool looking character. I think a lot of people, if they could pick a costume to have handed to them, I know I would. It would be a Mandalorian Boba Fett armor. I want that costume. Yeah.
Well, another point to throw in, it's the first time we've seen somebody with all the gadgets. I mean, he had, the things on his forearms and the stuff on it. He had so many gadgets, but it didn't look like too much. It just looked awesome. And we wanted to play with that action figure. We wanted to wear, like you just said, wear that suit of armor ourselves. So yeah, there was just a lot about the way he looked added to the mystery of the character.
That's right. Sure. All right. So thanks, Martin, for coming back on.
Yeah.
Really
thanks.
fun.
Thanks for letting me talk about my favorite character. Yeah, no, this is great.
Absolutely, because you know as well as I do, there are going to be some burning questions that pop up after we start watching season 2 of The Mandalorian.
Yeah.
So not only will we answer them on the Mandalore podcast, but we will answer them right here on Council Sessions. Go to InsideTheForce.com. You can check us out on YouTube there, and all of our podcast links for our show, Inside the Force. Of course, Council Sessions is a show that we've got on our YouTube channel, as well as a series called Beyond the Saga, where we dive into all of the literature that's out there, the novels, the comics. We talk about what's now considered the expanding universe. So go there, check that out. We got some comics and novels that we've talked about. But again, Mandalore podcast coming back at you during season 2 every week, starting in October. That's right. New trailer has debuted. You got to go watch that as we get ready for season 2. So thanks everybody for watching. Of course, we appreciate it. Thank you again, Martin, for checking us out and joining us.
Thanks for having me. Anytime, bud.
Great. Thank you, everybody. Have a great week. May the Force be with you.
This is the way.